Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and today joined by my good friend, wonderful co-host, Zach Ingo Finch. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, mate, not too bad.
Feeling a bit better today? You got it all out of your system after yesterday's ramble?
I did get it all out of my system because, it was dire. I think it's just, I expected so little and still was disappointed somehow. Like, I assumed that they were probably going to get over the line at Goodison Park, but to not watch a single shot in the first half of the football game against a team we've beaten twice this season,
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I watched some of the first half on my phone on a bus in London. It wasn't an optimal viewing experience, to be honest. And it wasn't worth watching. So
no, this is the issue. Is like, and I said, like, the fans deserve better, and I know it's quite dramatic, and it's like we've got a lot of changes on the way, but it's like I can't get over how how we're this bad.
We should have known it was coming, right? This Simon Russ MO is to just set up defensively. That's how it's going to go. Just not get beat. See it. If it's 0-0, it's better than nothing. That was literally something he said in a press conference a few weeks ago. So we can't be surprised by that now.
That's true. However, they scored within 5 minutes, so it didn't work very well.
Yeah.
and on top of that, the fact that you're setting up the same way against Everton, again, to clarify, a
100%.
team we've beaten twice this season with the same way you'd set up against Manchester City, not having a striker on the field, and then not anything really not happening until we had a striker on the field. It's just a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
We'll put it down to another game that's gone and forgotten, and now we've got the game at Arsenal.
Yeah, we've got a game coming up now at the weekend, which also doesn't matter for any of the teams. So it's going to be great.
I don't know. Arsenal, it feels like they have pride to play for, considering they haven't got anything again.
Yeah, I've been informed that it's my mission this weekend to get down to the ground early enough to see if we can meet any of the players as they arrive. So
it's going to be the
last 9 hours of misery to look forward to, instead of just the standard 90 minutes. So
I think it will be interesting who plays, who isn't there. I think it's so. Did you see the rumours in the Daily Echo that came out, or the words, the post-match words? So obviously we'd missed the interview by the time that me and Oscar had recorded, but the fact that he alluded to some people not being in the squad, not necessarily due to injury, is, I think, quite telling, because it's
Bednarek, Walker-Peters, conspicuous by their absence. Fair enough. Walker-Peters hadn't trained all week because he was still recovering from illness, so maybe you take it with a pinch of salt.
But Bednarek, it was ever since that £6 million release clause came out, right? Is a bit sort of considering when he joined, it was like, I love Southampton, and we're kind of like, he'll probably stay with us forever. He turned down a move to Roma to be here. Yeah, it's probably true, but it just feels a bit gross, and I'll be very interested, if neither of them make the bench, and then sort of Paul doesn't make the bench, and all of them disappear over the summer without really saying goodbye. My word, we had a better goodbye from Charlie Alcaraz yesterday.
I'll tell you what though, Zach, it's a scathing indictment of how awful this season's been when I tell you that I don't care. Half of the it is sad if Walker-Peters doesn't get on the pitch to say a proper goodbye, because he stayed with us through, the championship season and leaves with no ill will on a free to wherever he moves on to. But I just don't care.
Well, yeah, I think with the rest of them, as me and Oscar have pointed out, and you've pointed out, and we've talked about pretty much the end of this season, it's like, I just don't understand where all of these guys think they're going. That's going to be so much better. And the fact that, I don't know, it just feels weird that they're like, no, it's not me. I'm not the one. I deserve better. I was like, okay, off you go. Because all I can see is, the grass being greener on the other side. It happened with Danny Ings. It happened with, more than a couple of other.
Yeah.
even to an
But
extent.
inevitably, at the end of it all, some of those players who think they're going to get a move will still be with us next season, and then it's up to them to earn back our ability to care. Because
No, they end up as deadwood. They end up as travellers. You end
yeah,
up with
yeah,
another Bella Kotchap, right? Who, yeah, okay, he had his 2 games this season. He was going to save the season. He was the best central defender. He's a player for Germany, and then he's not managed to break into the team of, managed to just about get a few games under Juric. But out of the 3 managers we've had this season, he's managed a small amount of game time under one, which says a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the fact that ever since Martin's gone, Ryan Fraser disappeared off the face of the earth. So are they still going to be here playing football next season or not?
No,
They might still be here, but my problem is that what we really need is someone to get rid of all the dead wood. And I just think that we've got so much dead wood, we've been trying to get rid of it since we last got relegated.
Our retained list is going to be really interesting at the end of the season, isn't it? And look, I was talking about it at work today with some of the guys, and I would say some of the guys with one other guy in the office who's interested in football because we work in IT. But it really boils down to, are there any players I'm going to be sad to see go over the summer? Maybe a bit, but are there any that are going to be like one? It's a key list of one, right?
It's very much
Matty Fernandez. If we keep Matty Fernandez, I'm happy. I don't blame him if he goes. I lose no respect for Matty Fernandez if he takes a move to somewhere else. I might be upset with the club for letting that happen, but if the offer's good enough, I also kind of get you can't turn down 40, 50 million for him if that offer comes in.
Depends if it ends up like 25 or something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where I'll be have a bit more gripes. But it's not like, for example, mass exodus. I know we bang on about like sort of 2014, 2015 season a while back, like when we lost basically everyone in the space of a season, right? We lost like Lallana, Lambert, Rodriguez, like everybody just like left over the space of it was a kind of horrible time to be.
Lovren, who was an important centre back at the time, as much
at the time,
as to say now,
which is Greg, don't disrespect who at one point was the best central defender of all time in the world. All right, I'm pretty sure he said at one point when he was at Liverpool, and then they brought in Virgil van Dijk to replace him. But like either way, it's one of those things where like that was a hard summer because of how it was awful to watch us get stripped apart, right? And you're right with this one. It's kind of like I'm kind of looking forward to seeing who plays for us next season, and the fact I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah,
it's kind of where I'm at. But
look, is there a redemption arc for some of these players in our team? Absolutely, right? Is there a reality going forward where Harwood Bellis doesn't get the move he wants, sticks his head in and knuckles down and goes on to become a great? Absolutely there is. Do I care? No. If it happens, great. If he goes, fine. Whatever.
I would be with you at the beginning of the season. I can't help but just look at the amount of clear-cut errors we've had from our entire defence. Like, I'm not saying sack the whole defence, but also like
100%.
if you can't make,
but that's not 100%. But that's not to say there's not potential there. Like Harwood Bellis is still 21 years old, mate. Like
this is also true.
There are the makings of a solid Premier League centre back there, and if he wants to, and if he ends up staying with us and becoming that here, more power to him. Fair play. Do I care if he sees himself as bigger and wants to move on? No, he can go and make mistakes somewhere else. Like it's. I'm open to the possibility of these redemption arcs. I'm not upset if they don't come into play.
Because
it's where I'm at.
Don't worry, mate. When they're like 35, they'll come back to us for a season, and we'll take them back on extortionately high wages because we like a bit of nostalgia. Like we're part of the problem. I'm part of the problem, not you necessarily. I'm part of the problem. But like how many of our fans immediately jump on Danny Ings as soon as any sniff is available? How many fans are like?
The really upsetting part of that, Zach, is that he's out there as a free agent now this summer, so it might not be the worst shout. And it pains me to say that because, we do lack a goal scorer and we do lack some experience, and he is those things. So it's ridiculous, isn't it?
The cycle continues.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
It is.
Well, look, we're going to move our talk on to the wider footballing world, I think. But first, a message from our partners at Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Okay, and we are back. Zach, it is that incredibly weird time of year where football is winding down and subsequently there is more football than ever on, right? I think every single day in the last maybe week and a half, I've sat down and watched an incredible game of football because we've got, the filling in of the Premier League fixtures where they've had to reschedule it. You've had playoffs for all of the leagues and the FA Cup final. I guess let's start with that, right? An interesting team won the FA Cup. It wasn't one of the regular teams.
It was good. Straight off the back of how we frustrated Man City, sort of Palace a little bit, and also managed to win it. And
a little bit of help with VAR. It's got to be said.
At the same time, but at the same time, they also did later have a penalty, and they failed to score it. So the fact that I think the things that bothered me are the fact that Guardiola can't stop being a diva, like storming over to Dean Henderson to be like, either have a go. The theories are have a go at him for time wasting, complain about the fact that a decision that was made that wasn't his fault was made, right? Like he hit okay, he clipped it out, but it's up to the refs who made the mistake.
Yeah.
And it just seems weird that that's the first thing, like one of your first instincts is to like go over and have a go at the opposition goalkeeper for winding down the clock, which is like specifically after his post-match with us, where he was like, "Oh, it's up to any other team their right to play.
Do what want,
play what you want, unless I deem it unacceptable."
Yeah,
and I get it. Maybe it's the start of the end of the legacy. They're going to have a big rebuild. You've seen probably the last game out of a couple of the players potentially there, but like it was just nice to see another team win something. A team that deserves it. A team that's got
unbelievable scenes,
incredible support.
End, by the way,
100%.
And it has to be said, as annoying as they are, Palace are one of the loudest sets of away fans that come to St Mary's. Palace and Liverpool, I'd say, are right up there. And fair play. I like to see it.
We were there, a year ago. Admittedly, completely different competition, but the emotions of when that full-time whistle goes, and it kind of just how amazing it feels. But for it to be sort of a major trophy, going to give them European football for the first time ever. Like some of the individual stories,
first time they've ever won the FA Cup as well. Mad.
Just so incredible. It's utterly incredible achievement. It was kind of not expected because I remember when we first played at the beginning of the season, they hadn't exactly had a good run of games. They were almost, up. They were there alongside Wolves as well as the two others that have come up that might be relegated.
As classic, they're genuinely going to finish 12th just to stick it to the mean. Like, unbelievably.
Yeah. So, but, I think that it's great for the game, and considering there was a worry that this season would have nothing but the losers who you'd expect to lose lost and the winners you'd expect to win, right? And the fact of the matter is that hasn't been the case. Both cups, and I don't know if it's because these other teams are not spending as much time on the competition. At one point you had Man City had a rocky game. I can't remember if it was this for the Carabao or the FA Cup, like a rocky game against Leyton Orient of all teams, right?
Yeah.
So, I just think it was absolutely wonderful to see another team do really, really well and what that will mean for that club. What I hope it doesn't mean is that they end up doing the classic thing of building up a massive squad to deal with the fact they're going to have European football, and then it causing their downfall because they've got too many players, and it's a struggle to play that and the league and stuff. Because this is the other issue: is the reason the bigger clubs end up staying in Europe for a significantly longer period of time is that they have the resources to sustain that, which is why their benches are so much better, which again perpetuates the problem we constantly talk about. So we'll see. Hopefully that won't be the case. It's just nice to see either way.
For me, it's exactly what football's all about. You see the moments in the crowd, those fans are going to remember that for a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I don't remember who it was that said it before the game, but I do remember reading it. It was like, Man City win the cup, and those players just like, yeah, they won our 50, we won another FA Cup. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Those Crystal Palace players are in that solidified in Crystal Palace history forever now. There'll be people talking in 150 years about Dean Henderson and that penalty save.
Yeah, there's going to be kids talking about, like, there's going to be kids who are going to grow up to be grandparents that are going to talk to their grandkids about the fact that they were at that game. The same way that, like, our grandparents would talk to us about the games they went to. Yeah. But it's incredible, and it's hard to explain to non-football people how it makes you feel and how incredible it actually is. So fair play to him. Happy to see it not go to City.
Yeah, absolutely. It just feels like a prominent year where maybe we're getting a bit of football back after Pep Guardiola ruined it, right?
True. And speaking of the man that once stopped Pep Guardiola ruining football, we still live in Nathan Jones' head rent free. I don't know if you saw his post match interview about his flamboyant actions. Let's put it that way. During the playoff, and I can understand however you want to express yourself, however you want to express your religious beliefs or any of that kind of stuff, that's fine. But like, I think that you could tell there was a little bit of theatre there, and also the fact that he was like, well, when I went to a Premier League team, they didn't think I was good enough. I'm actually, one of the pound for pound the best player, and I'm like, we were discussing about how I still don't think he understands that it wasn't the fact that we didn't think he had the credentials. It was an underwhelming signing, for sure. Me and you both agree on that. It wasn't really to do with that. It was how we went from, Hassan Hootel was quite a nice guy who kind of was always nice to the fans. I still remember when he first came in and he basically did the little like circling gesture after we lost to Cardiff City. And he basically said, we're going to turn this around. And he did that season. And the contrast of that is you've got Nathan Jones, who came in and within one of his first press conferences was mugging off the support. That is why he went, because basically you managed to get the entire fan base to unite. Yeah, you managed to get the whole fan base to unite around getting rid of you. That incredible scenes, right? That is why he went. So, and I know that you're going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place, because as much as you dislike Nathan Jones, your dad literally played for Charlton.
I still want Charlton to get promoted because, that's what I want.
A weird, I talk about my granddad having the FA Cup mug for a Southampton being like one of the football credentials that I've got. Your dad was literally a professional footballer, mate.
I know. Unbelievable. Great to see Charlton doing well. Horrible to see Nathan Jones involved in it.
But if they...
that's the thing though, because there are other ex-Saints managers in football where, irrelevant of feelings towards them, you just watch them and go, yeah, fair enough. But it's unbearable to watch Nathan Jones win because of his antics. You watch that Charlton playoff and 5 minutes of him jumping around and throwing himself on his knees. I'm like,
that's what's going to be remembered about the playoff final. That's the problem. You shouldn't be about, and he's saying, it's all because I wanted to, express myself and express my religion. That again, perfectly acceptable, however you want to do that. But you need to understand that if you are going to put all of the attention on you, you're gonna have that attention. That's what I find baffling about it. And it's also not him that's done it. Realistically, you have to give some credence to your players. Your players are the ones executing your game plan. Without them doing the work, you wouldn't have that. Plus, they've not won yet. But for me, it would be incredible if they get promoted, Greg. And the simple reason why is we're going to have so many derbies next year. Like the Nathan Jones derby, like the actual South Coast derby. If Russell Martin comes back in and takes over the Baggies, mate, the Russell Martin derby. It's going to be incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I, for one, hope that Charlton get promoted, because what an incredible excuse to take my kids to see the ground where my dad played football. What a crazy day out that could be.
I don't know if you've ever had those conversations with your boy yet, mate, but that's got to be such a weird conversation to have as he gets older and starts to get more. Like, I know he started to play at the youth level, but like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Right. We've got more football chit-chat to get to, but first, a message from our partners at Zencastr. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr. Zach, what is it about playoff football that brings out these incredible moments? Because I can't think of I think I've watched at least 45 minutes of most of the playoff games so far, and they have all been incredibly entertaining. Like,
when we were chatting about the Coventry, who'd they play? Why have I forgotten? Why has that left my head? I was literally watched the entire game.
Was it Sunderland?
Yeah, Coventry Sunderland. Thank you, Greg. That was awful. It's a combination of things, right? Like we discussed it. If it was, it happens every year, but if it was for something like, if it was like the MLS or like the Super Bowl, and like if it was American football, like the actual final for that is big, but the playoffs aren't as important. But like I think that for working your way up like the English like football league ladder, and I think just working your way up leagues like that, there is so much at stake. There is so much of importance. There is, it can change the entirety of the fortunes of football clubs, right? Like, there is a lot of emotion behind, say, an FA Cup win, but when you're getting promoted, it's like the money that comes with it, the prestige. Not a lot of people would have known about Luton Town until they got into the Premier League. Like, they ended up having Ross Barkley pay for them for a little bit. Like, that's a sad story of how it can go wrong. We were also at one point a sad story of how it can go wrong. But I think it's like, there is just so much there, and there's so much at stake, and the emotions get so high, and then like it can produce moments of magic, because I think that like players will, especially towards the end of games, like at the end of the Sunderland game and things like that, like there are moments of, well, I just need to try. So people will try maybe things they wouldn't usually try, and then it will pay off in either the most spectacular way, or sometimes like watching City pump the ball towards Crystal Palace as much as they could towards the end of the game. They brought on a 17, 18-year-old Brazilian guy, as they clearly hoped that the narrative would be that he would score, get them to penalties, and maybe they'd beat Crystal Palace on penalties. And that could be that narrative. And that could have been the narrative. That could have changed the way that game went, but it didn't. It was all around the fact that, Palace had somebody that was once let go, almost like from previous academies, struggled to get into professional football, was the one to score the goal. So I think it's just the grand stories around it. It's almost like it combines the pageantry of like wrestling with the actual sport of football, because like people care, you want to see your crowd. The crowd get a buzz. Like, we were there for the West Brom playoff, and we've talked about this before. Like, I still don't think I've ever matched the level of electricity. Like, even at the final, there was just something in the air.
Literally, but like from the moment, literally walking through the concourse to get to the seats, you felt it. It was just a buzz.
It's how I started. I never previously understood how mob mentality worked, right? I always kind of thought like I would stand up against mob mentality. I kind of get it now, because it's intoxicating, and you become part of this bigger movement. But I think it's just that there's so much at stake. It means usually so much to the cities around you. If investment can be put back into that club, investment can be put into the area, the city. It puts a place on a map that people would usually never know or go to. It's there is so much about the football, and obviously for most people it is solely about the football, watching their club go and play in these bigger leagues. And like, it's if you ask me, would I trade this awful season for us to stay in the Championship? And even if the logical thing actually would have been we had another year or two in the Championship to build, no, because like I wouldn't have been
Those
able to
moments
experience
were
those
so worth
moments,
it. Yeah.
and they were worth it.
And you
And I
got to
don't
have the
know.
lows to appreciate the highs as well.
Correct. That's the other
I
thing.
wanna, talking about like the importance of games. I've just remembered something I saw on. Actually, I saw it on a non-football related page on social media, but someone put on there that it was their 71st consecutive football cup final, presumably because they're Club Wembley or something, and they go to presumably all of the League Cup and FA Cup and maybe Trophy. Who knows? I didn't bother looking into the rest of that to how that got to that number, but all of the comments were like unhinged, like gatekeeping, and like I get that corporate allocations for games are ridiculous.
Yes,
to a
true.
degree. But should that mean that we gatekeep anyone who's not a fan of either club? Like, be chastised for going to a game? Like, is it that much of a problem to want to be someone that enjoys the experience of finals, to involve themselves in both atmospheres?
It's one of those things that another analogy you could use is like somebody that goes to a 5-star restaurant and starts eating there every week, right? I don't know if there's a horror film called The Menu. Now, this is actually, I know this is a classic me going off on a tangent, but I will try and keep it tied to it. But in that film, like there's one of the people that are invited to this exclusive showing. It's a horror film, so I'll let you fill in the blanks of what happens at the end. But like to try this exclusive menu, they're asked the question of like what was something they ate there like previously, and their answer was salmon or something like that. And they were like, no, it wasn't. You genuinely can't remember anything you've eaten here because you've eaten here so often and it's become such a numb experience. Like it's like it's the same with the guy that celebrates Christmas every day. Like, does it stops being special, I think, if you are to do something that much. And also, if you've been 71 times, yeah, I think for some people, it really depends. Like, I don't want to keep
you're enjoying like each unique experience. Like, I'm sure that person can list all of those 71 games and maybe a key moment and like the things they took from that atmosphere.
That person seems to be somebody that is a fan and has gone to 71 consecutive cup finals as somebody that wants to enjoy it. The problem you're talking about that's different is corpo tickets. And corpo tickets, you can have people that go and you'll watch them in the stands because they will pan to these people and they will be sat on their phones for most of the game. They are there because it's an afternoon out for them, as opposed to when you've got people who are fans that don't get to go, that are having to watch it at home because their family can't afford it. They didn't get the allocation. Like, we know enough people that didn't get to go to the Saints playoff finals. But I am also somebody that received the corporate ticket, which meant that I was in this weird minority where I was standing up and screaming, shouting alongside this other guy about 2 seats in front of me, and everyone around me kind of looked like I was insane. Because they were there, they picked the Saints' side because they've got ties to Southampton.
I feel like the anger's misplaced. Like, I don't think people should be angry at this man.
Completely, the anger is misplaced. But I think what the problem is that this guy is kind of almost, he is just going, oh, I love being able to go and watch all of this. And then people are like, there is going to be just a jealousy there, 100%. Yeah. But the jealousy is caused by the fact that they are putting more tickets towards corporates and more tickets that are allocated for, companies and bits and pieces. And and it's that thing we talk about where it's the corporatization of football upsets people, because like a lot of the people are not invested in the sport. They're not invested in enjoying as much. And it's kind of like, well, I would give my left arm to go. And you've got this geezer up there that's just here on a jolly. But also, the problem at that point is corporations in general, right? That's always going to be the case. So
it's fascinating to me, though, because in contrast, last year I was lucky enough to go with my brother-in-law, who went to university in Bath, so became a Bath rugby fan. And they got to the Gallagher Premier League final. I was lucky enough to go with the kids and with him, and we went and watched the rugby final. And the contrast there was mad because all of the teams in the Gallagher Premier League, all of the shirts were represented by people walking around just milling about, just enjoying the occasion of the final. And it was just such
but that's
event.
that's also part of what makes football different, and the level of tribalism within football. You're not you might be able to sit next to a Pompey fan with a Pompey shirt on and a Saints shirt, but like if you do that, like they've put aside £250,000 to police those games.
Yeah,
because there's too much there in football that isn't in rugby, right? There's too much, I think, rivalry. And there are people that have done dissertations and whole parts of the history of football, and especially football hooliganism and football violence and stuff. But like the reason these people are getting so angry is the same reason that people shout at the club social media guy. When the club social media guy puts out a half funny tweet, people are like, this is disgusting. It's because it's a visible face of something that they're annoyed about. The visible face is they are annoyed that this guy has been 71 times and they might not be able to go once. And they feel like that guy is taking a ticket away from a normal fan. He isn't. He's taking another corporate ticket. But then the point is there should be less corporate tickets. And I think that to contrast it with a completely different sport that, is different because, like, if you look at the types, when you're going to a Wembley for a final of that level of importance, we've talked about the electricity we felt. Do you think, if when my wife came with me and she had a great time, but it didn't mean as much to her as it did to me. And I know that, and that's fine. And like, that's what I think, that if a guy's been to 71 times as a neutral, you went to the League Two playoff finals in the box in Wembley. Yeah. You forgot that you also did that.
Yeah.
But again, because you were all in the nice corpo bit, you got all of the hospitality. It was lovely and this, that, and the other. But that's because they've separated you from down in the stands. But if it was Saints, wouldn't you want to be with the fans? You tell me that, right?
I would not be able to sit in the Royal Box at Wembley at a Saints game. I would not be appropriate.
Well, there you go. And I think that's where, and that's obviously probably what causes the frustration, is that you're seeing all these people get to go to the games that they were given arm for. And it's not their fault, but it doesn't stop people from being angry. And as you know, as much as I do, people will say anything on social media if they're mad. You don't forget, like, it's not like they're screaming in the guy's face about it. No. It's not like, the guy was probably not going like bragging. He was just like, oh, this is a pretty cool aspect of my life. And yet the problem is it's going to annoy people, and people are going to feel like they can comment on it, and they are going to comment on it. But I don't know if it means that, I don't think it means that they're less entitled to enjoy it. But it's going to rattle people, I think, is the point, right?
It was a fascinating cross section to me of, from a non-football page. The response he got was not what it's not how I responded, I guess. Like,
but you respond logically to like that. You think stuff's cool.
That's a bit mental. Why would you do that? I don't know if I would enjoy watching. But then again, I am a person who has gone to watch games of football with teams I don't support and thoroughly enjoyed the experience. So
and it's a couple of times, but I think also the big difference with what you're talking about is, like, you go to a random league game to watch a couple of teams, like, people do that, they go abroad. Like, I've been to it, I think I mentioned it before. I went to go see Anderlecht and Club Bruges play when I was in Belgium, like a decade ago at this point. That was a really cool experience. It was nice to experience a European stadium. It was nice to experience sort of like drinking in the ground without any issue. The ultras there were very sort of different to sort of the hardcore fans over here. And like all of that stuff was really, really cool. But I'm not taking up a space in the playoff, like, final or the final. And although the corporate space would be just filled with another corporate person, I think it's the issue that corporate tickets like that exist, where people could just go and it doesn't mean anything to them. And yes, it might mean, it's like if you went to go and see a play about something that I really cared about. Actually, an even better analogy, Greg, Taylor Swift tickets. So where was it? Where I was. So I was getting tattooed quite recently. I've added to my tattoo. Sleep one of my arms. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. It's a nice little frog guy. That's just me plugging my tattoo artist, El Jabbo tattoo. And I was sat next to this guy, and he was talking about how he was like, oh, John, you work events, don't you? You work events occasionally. He was like, yeah, I don't mind working events. Why? Oh, I've got one coming up in Liverpool if you want to do it. It's about, like, 3 nights. Like, oh yeah, sure. What is it? It's Taylor Swift. And I'd never heard of her. And like my ears immediately pricked up, because like the amount of pain I had to go through to get these tickets, mate. The fact that the hotel cost me more than the tickets. And then I somehow ended up paying about half of that for a hotel the night before that was still more expensive than tickets, and felt, I've actually come off of this all right. But he was like, she done half put on a show. But yeah, what I wanted to say was that band before, Paramore, they were excellent because Paramore were playing in the studio. And when somebody said that's who it was, but it was like completely blew my mind because like you would have Swifties on the forums tear that man apart. He was just there for work and got to see a free show. And this is the thing is you can't, those sort of situations, you're never going to be able to please people. But I think it's the corporate allocation of tickets is the problem here. The fact that people feel like it should be only true fans that are entitled. It comes back to the whole problem that we even talked about where, you know, watching Man City at St Mary's, half of the fans in the stand were not Southampton fans. You know that for a fact.
Yeah.
That becomes annoying. You kind of, and it's weird because for your club, you get annoyed about it. But you know, if it was a playoff final, Greg, that was our playoff final, you'd probably be more slightly annoyed. But again, you've reacted in a logical way, and you haven't looked at that post, been rattled by what they've said, and then decided to just chuck vitriol at them because that's what people do. That's just how people deal with stuff, right? They're annoyed at it. You know, it's like us tweeting out about the Derby points cap record. It's objectively funny, but it's also a bit disgraceful because it's like you shouldn't be making those jokes. And the problem is the people are shouting at this guy. This social media intern's like probably about 21. It's like, what are you tweeting that? I'm sick of seeing photos of training. It's like, what would you rather me do, John? Upload a photo of like, you know, Ivan Juric sat there opening a tin of beans because he's refusing to eat any real food until they get a win. Like, it's content for content's sake. That's how you have to be. You have to keep, you know, we do it.
Absolutely.
Mate, this unlocked something in me.
Okay, well, that is just about all we got time for today. Give us your hate in the comments. Let us know. We're here for it.
Please don't. We're sensitive souls.
Let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts on people who just want to go and see finals? Is that acceptable in football? I don't know. It's an interesting one. I feel like there's a real line to tread there. That's for sure. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with some more football blabber for sure. Thank you very much for listening, Zach. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.